Okay, so Terraform got extended another week, which I think is good news. So today we're just going to be covering over some of the meta arguments. Um, Tomorrow's lesson will also be going over some more meta arguments. So meta arguments in Terraform are essential for managing infrastructure effectively. They provide advanced control over resource behavior, enabling better dependency management, scalability, and reusability. What are we trying to accomplish? By exploring these foundational meta arguments, we will build a solid understanding of how to leverage Terraform's full potential for creating a robust, scalable infrastructure. All good stuff. So these are the five meta arguments. You may have seen them before. I believe you might have even gone over a couple in prior lessons, but we're going to be going over count for each, depends on provider and lifecycle.
Reno, question.
Yes,
On my screen, it shows 10. Do I need to refresh? Yeah, update.
you have to refresh for week 9, day 2. I put the lesson in the Zoom chat.
Yeah.
That do it for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was originally 10, but Preston and I got together and split it up.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So the first one we're going to be going over is count. It's a pretty common one. So the count meta argument in Terraform allows you to create multiple instances of the same resource. It helps you by managing scalability by specifying how many instances of a resources should be created. So this goes over why this kind of, I remember there was a question last time about like why we would like write Terraform versus doing it manually. And this could be a big one, right? Like how long it would take you to do 5 instances manually versus just having a meta argument of count instead of equal to 5. It'd be pretty quick. This works for like all resources. You could specify the count any number you want, even one. You could even have a conditional here. Say, I don't know, if dev environment only create one instance, else, I don't know, create like 5. Yeah, you can get creative with it. But anyways, can you guys see my terminal okay?
Yep.
Awesome, thank you. And if I go too fast, by the way, please stop me, or just tell me to slow down. Or if you have any questions, just blurt them out. That'd be best. Cool. So, anyways, I already have this directory set up, and I have a main TF file already. This kind of piggybacks off of the last lesson that I gave last week. Anyways, let's just go into the main TF and add that instance resource in it. So I'm just going to do a vi main.tf, which is like a Vim editor to edit the file. And I've already got my provider and my Terraform set up. So anyways, I copied and pasted the instance resource with the count of 5. AMI is the image, and the instance type is T2 micro, and just a name tag of Terraform EC2. And then, this is pretty cool. To set the name, I want all the names to be independent of each other, to be all unique. And so I'm doing like a variable, which you just do like um, a dollar sign and then 2 curly brackets, and then you could do a count dot index plus 1. And so the index will always start at 0. And so I just want to add 1. So the first one's going to be created. It's going to be 1, and then 2 and 3, etc. Yeah, Flo, I see you get your hand raised.
Does the location of the count matter? I noticed we threw it at the beginning.
It's industry bus standard to have a count or for each at the top. But I don't think it matters. I think you could have it anywhere within the resource block. But yeah, good question.
Great.
But yeah, anyway, so I just want my name to be unique between all of them. And so I'm just doing a count dot index. So it's just going the count. And then it has a like behind the scenes attribute of dot index. And then I'm just adding 1 to it. So the first one will be 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And so we could actually do an escape colon WQ to quit and save. And then we can just run a Terraform plan out of that. And we should see 5 resources wanting to be created with all different or slightly different name tags. So as we can see, we have the plan of 5 to add, 0 to change, and 0 to destroy. So down here is the 5, name equals Terraform EC2 5. If we keep scrolling up, we can see the 4 and 3 and 2 and etc. I'm not going to show you all of them, but they're there. Cool. So that's pretty much the count. It's pretty simple, pretty quick and easy. The next one is going to be for each. So the for each argument creates multiple instances of a resource based on a map or set. It has to be a map or a set. A map being like an object, if you're familiar with that terminology, and a set's pretty universal, but it's defined by these square brackets, and every character of it has to be unique in character. So which can be useful when each instances need unique configurations. So here we have a variable of instance names. They're all going to be strings, and so this right here would just be a list by itself. But we need this toSet argument down here, and then we just pass in the variable of instance names to make it a set. If you don't have this toSet, it will error out, I believe. So it needs to be a set or it needs to be an object. Anyways, here I'll show you. We'll just go back to our terminal and edit the main.tf again. And let's just delete this app server here and paste in here. But yeah, pretty much the same thing, except for we're using each.key. So there are two things to note about using for each. Let's just actually put a space in between that, make it a little bit easier to read. Anyways, so there's each.key and there's each.value. When you're using a set, like iterating over a set, each.key and each.value are going to be the same thing. However, if let's say you have, let's just copy this and make an object. This is what an object or a map would look like. I don't know, let's just do color red, color red. And we'll separate that by a comma. And I don't know, what's the minimum year? Year of, I don't know, 1995. Why not? Anyways, so this is a map. It's a set of key value pairs. So you have your key, which is going to be color, and your value of red. Okay, and you can have as many as you want in here, which is it's very useful. You'll see these quite often in the programming world or like software development world, just tech in general. Anyways, so if you wanted to access, say you're iterating over, I don't know, let's just name this something else. Oops, am I not in? There we go. Instance names. Let's call this instance map. I don't know, cars. Why not? Anyway, so if we're iterating over this, if I just want to have each.name as like, I don't know, like the key, that would be the color and the year. I would just do each.key. However, if I do each.value here, change out this key to a value, I would get red and I would get 1995. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions on that? The difference between like a set and a map? Okay, great. Anyways, so if let's escape out of that and let's just delete this. But this is pretty easy though, just doing a set. Does anyone know the names that would come out if I just do a for each over this instance names?
Would it be the defaults? Whatever we put in default?
Yep, that's correct. It's going to be web, database, and cache. So we could actually see that if I just want to escape, colon, and then save and quit with the WQ. And I could run another Terraform plan. And we should see only 3 being created. Right, there's only 3 in that default set. Right, so we did get 3. And we can see there's web. And then there's database, and I believe what was the other one? Cache. Yep, cache. There we go. So that's for each, as you can see. Does anyone have any questions on for each or count thus far? These are two very common meta arguments. So just make sure to remember them and get some practice with each one. The next one's a little different. It depends on. So the depends on argument explicitly defines dependencies between resources, while Terraform automatically determines dependencies based on references, depends on used to manage explicit dependencies when needed. So this is an example of an S3 bucket. Excuse me. So here's an object, S3 object that we're going to be putting in our S3 bucket. So you can't really put an S3 object in a bucket that doesn't exist. So what you're really telling Terraform here to do is to make sure to depend on the S3 bucket. So to make sure the S3 bucket is actually provisioned correctly and is up and going before doing anything with that object. And so that's what we're doing by this depends on metadata. Yep. So, and also another thing to note is it does live within this list, just the square brackets. And then you put on like anything you want. So you typically just name any kind of like resource name in here. So what it's going to do, it's going to create the S3 bucket, and then it's going to create the object that puts it in the S3 bucket. Does anyone have questions on that? And you can do this for any resource too. You might run into an error if you're trying to apply a Terraform plan, and it might say something like, I don't know, S3 bucket, not provisioned yet, nowhere to put the object or something like that. And so that kind of tells you like, okay, like we need to depend on the S3 bucket before the object's created. This works for a bunch of different use cases, depending on if you want to create stuff before other stuff or wait on stuff for other stuff, if that makes sense. Yeah, anyways, so ultimately this just ensures that the S3 bucket is created before the S3 object is uploaded. Provider, we've kind of already seen this and gone over it, but you're really just defining your AWS attributes in here. Also, if you didn't have like if you don't have your exports of your AWS like secrets, like secret ID and secret key, to be able to link up to your AWS account, this is, you just add another like provider attribute in here, but you're really just saying what Terraform version you're using, or not Terraform version, but which Terraform provider you're using. And so since we're using the AWS console, we want to use the AWS provider. So if we're doing like an OCI, like we're working in OCI cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, we would want to change this to OCI, as well as the region of choice, like US Ashburn 1 or US Phoenix 1, whatever it may be. But that's pretty much it for provider block. We could actually see that if I just do a cat on the main.tf file. Here is the provider block. I'm set up to use US East 1. Yeah. So anyways, let's go on to lifecycle. There are a bunch of different lifecycle methods. Excuse me. So the lifecycle meta argument is used to manage resource behavior during creation, update, and destruction. Those are like the three life cycles, right? That a resource will go through. And then you can use it to control actions such as preventing deletion, which I think we have set here, prevent, destroy equals true, or creating resources using only once or ignoring changes to certain attributes. So you just do this lifecycle block within a resource. This could be any resource you want. In this case, just an AWS like S3 bucket. You could also do it for like an EC2 instance or whatever resource you're trying to create. There's a bunch of them. I don't know, probably like less than 10. But this prevent, destroy, if you have it set to true, then you're not going to be able to delete it. Even if you did like a Terraform destroy, it just won't be able to delete that resource. It's just kind of like a safe fail. But I did link them here in this. Here's like the actual documentation of Terraform for the lifecycle arguments. There's like create before destroy. So saying you're trying to like, I don't know, reboot a host, like a EC2 instance, and you want to like change like the image on it or something like that. But you want to create a new one before destroying That way, you know, it can still run on an instance and not have like a downtime. Then you would have this flag set to true. And as you can see, it'll tell you all the details about it of each one. There's a so that's create before destroy. There's prevent destroy, which we're already using, which is set to true. So you just, you know, say fail, so you can't destroy anything. Ignore changes, so you're not able to edit it or update it. It's just set in its ways. So you can't really mess with it. And then there's a few other replace trigger by and what's this one? Precondition. And then yep, so it's just those. So there's not too many, but it's just good to know that they exist, and that is something that is out there for you guys to leverage. It's not something that you would typically do in a Platoon setting. I don't think so. You might, but the provider you'll have to do every time. Depends on you use quite a bit. But your main two that you will find yourself using and N or the count and for each. Will let it be known that the count is very beginner friendly. In my setting at Oracle that I work at, I typically don't do count. We deal with a lot of data, so we typically do with like a for each, and say you're trying to like manipulate stuff. The way you access these variables, or I'm sorry, these resources are going to be a little bit different between the count and for each. The count, when you have like, I don't know, you have 5 different instances, you access them by like the square brackets and then like the index number. And that's how you find like that specific or that specific instance that you would like. For each, you would do it by the defaults or like the each dot key. And so it would be, you know, like car or year, or in this case, web database or cache is how you would index it, define your specific instance that you're doing a for each loop over. But if you're familiar with either Python, JavaScript, Java, or any other programming languages, the for each is really just iterating over the thing that you're passing in. So either the set or the object. So it's first going to go to this, then it's going to go to this, and then this naturally. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the lesson today. Does anyone have any questions on any of this? Doesn't have to be on this lesson specifically, but just any, I don't know, Terraform questions in general you may have.
How deep does the meta arguments go? I assume these are just like the base level sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think there's really only 10. So
Really?
there's only these 10. So there's a lot of attributes and like you know, like but these are just like the main ones. But here's like what was that? Oh, oops, that's day 3. Yeah, here's day 3's though. Oh, I think this actually needs to get updated. Version error, but anyways, but there is 10, 10 major ones. But there's always more to go over in documentation, whether it comes to like AWS attributes of like the resources. There's going to be loads that you never even knew existed. That's where documentation just comes in handy. You just go and research it all, because there's no way to remember all the attributes of a single resource in any cloud provider or any kind of Terraform module. Yeah, good question though. Anyone have any other questions? Cool. Yeah, let me stop this.